All right, what is going on, guys? AMC Cycles here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you're new. Hopefully you are all enjoying your weekend. Today, I want to touch on the charts and what is going to happen coming into earnings. All in my opinion, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice. So we know the upcoming movies for AMC, they are going to hit it off. The Super Mario Bros. Went absolutely nuts. Q1, insane. A lot of those numbers are going to actually show up for Q2. But we do still expect a crazy earnings this week for AMC. Earnings is May 5th, if you do not know. So it is about to play out this week. All right, so just jumping right into it. The most recent thing we have talked about on the channel is tracking these earnings cycles that we have drawn out in yellow and blue. And I have stated time and time again that I assume AMC is going to scale up come this week, next week, and potentially reach that high between now and mid-June. Okay, so there is this time frame. There's this time window where I think AMC has a chance to either make a major run-up or have a legitimate squeeze going forward. Of course, this is going to correlate with other catalysts, what the S&P 500 does, how bad short sellers are in the dump, banks, so on and so forth. But what we can see is that the S&P 500 has been scaling to the upside, potentially hurting short sellers. Banks have been going under, potentially hurting short sellers. And you see these Chinese companies running thousands of %. And we have correlated that to how it could be saving short sellers' ass in at least the short term, but it can't last too long. So without further ado, before I touch deeply into the charts, I wanted to point out that the Ortex numbers are at all-time highs, and if not nearing all-time highs. So these are what the numbers looked like back for the June run-up, right? These are what the numbers are looking like now. So you have basically almost everything higher than it was, putting more pressure on shorts, if not nearing those all-time high levels. Not saying it's a coincidence that at this time it is going to hit those all-time high levels, but that is something to note, that those levels are sitting there. Now, another thing real quick, Stonko Tracker, let's just touch on this real quick before we get into the charts. 650,000 shares available to borrow, 178% fee, according to Stonko Tracker. And touching on the options chain, I wanted to point out the options chain because it's going to be important depending on how big the size of run-up that we do actually get. So, expiration May 5th. I don't think these options contracts are the ones who's actually playing the earnings. I think most people playing options are a little bit smarter than that, and they're playing the May 19th so that theta does not kill them. So this is exactly where I wanted to look. You have about 360,000 calls combined versus 500,000 puts. Of course, market makers are not going to want to let this thing fly. So come this week, you are going to have to pay attention to the short exempts and the short exempt volume. A lot of people are saying that if the fundamentals are good, AMC is going to burn short sellers out of their position, as I do think that's true in most of the cases. To delete a short thesis, shorts are definitely trapped in this play, and you see what they did to GameStop after GameStop went earnings positive. So just keep that in the back of your head, that it's basically evened out from calls to put ratio as of now. Even next week, there's about 100,000 calls and puts collectively, basically versing on AMC to see where it's going to go. I think the calls are actually going to win, and let me get into why. So over the past earnings, AMC has been beating earnings per share and beating revenue. Still going negative, but beating the estimates. The last one was actually crazy, a beat by 35% for earnings per share and a beat on revenue by 1.35%. And we all assume this is going to be even better than the December earnings that we got reported to us. So we are expecting a cash flow positive earnings, if not very close, closer than AMC has ever been, at least prior pandemic, right? Now, touching on AMC's chart, we want to look at where AMC traded in the red back here before the January run-up, because this is exactly where all signs are pointing to as to where AMC is trading at right now, nearing that low point, about to start what may be a major move to the upside, right? Now, of course, the last times we ran in January and we ran in June, we have not gotten that scale of a run-up since then. However, after the red cycle ended back here, we did get a nice move all the way up to about $21, and we got halted. Okay, that is the last time AMC has seen a decent run, the last time it's played out one of these green cycles. And not to mention, I think this is pretty interesting, but this red cycle ended on January 27th of 2022. So you have the January of 2021, and then you have the January of 2022 cycles playing out. Of course, this green cycle was actually extended. You see an extension in the cycles between the green, between the yellow, as well as between the red. However, the red is ending very soon. As to put a finger on the exact date it's ending, it could be now, it could be a week from now, it could be 2 weeks from now. All we really need to know is that betting calls at least a month, 2, 3 months out is probably a safe bet. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. With that being said, the white bar patterns that you have drawn out in front of you are basically every single time AMC had an earnings, and these are the orange lines on the chart that are overlaid in front of you. Now, what we can see is that the overall trend after AMC played an earnings back here, this of course went out of reach for the algorithms, out of reach for the market makers back in June, the June run up, right? It broke out to the upside and it went straight up after earnings. The one before it went straight up as well. Most of the time when these earnings play, you see something very, very similar happen before earnings, and that is exactly what we have to pay attention to. Before earnings, you see AMC scale up. Take a look at this back here where I'm drawing on AMC. You see AMC play this little whoop. It goes up and then it goes down, and then the earnings play out the way they play out. You saw it there, and you saw it right here before this earnings call. You saw it right here before this earnings call. You saw it right here, and basically every single time, okay? That is basically what I'm getting at here. Not saying that this will play out to the exact same degree. However, AMC may or may not have at least a 20% week this week, right? We're already up 2.4%. Talking about Friday, I think AMC has two scenarios that could play out. One is tracking from the January green cycle, and one is tracking from the January 2022 green cycle, and this is exactly what they both look like. So the January 2021, the January 2022, both of these have the exact same setup, and the overall sentiment is a pop higher. What I find interesting is that the January 2022 run-up would play out fundamentally well. It would come back down to this overall descending trend line, bounce off of it, bounce off of the wedge, get a nasty rip, and then sell off right into earnings, and earnings would hit. And not to mention, both of these times, January 2021 and January 2022, this is the pre-run-up. So both of these times, they ripped right after, which means, just all speculation, right? Which means they would have this pop, just like the cycles play out regularly, and then if AMC goes cash flow positive, they are having that second pop. Which means also, I think we do have a very good chance at having a major move like we saw back in January 2021 and June of 2021. Also, this move back in January of 2022, March, April of 2022 got halted. It got rejected because of the halt. So just keep in mind of the halts that may come on AMC. Overall, guys, AMC is trading at $5.50 right now. I'm just assuming based off of all the stuff that I have brought to you, AMC has a very good chance at ripping over the next couple of weeks. A couple things I would note if you're playing calls on AMC or you're playing puts, give yourself enough time. Not financial advice, but seriously, do not bet weeklies. If you can't afford it, it's probably not worth it. Market makers love to destroy you, especially if you're betting weeklies on AMC or GameStop. Speaking of that, this isn't a video where I'm going over GameStop. GameStop is going to have that sympathy play as well. Notice how this chart, right? This is another thing I wanted to bring up. Notice how this sell-off goes into Monday before that rip. That would give GameStop enough time to fill that gap before both of them pop, which I think is interesting. Not only that, but out of the gates, people loading up on premium, that would also, deteriorate a lot of the contracts, which could be a good plan coming into Monday. Although there is a lot of hype going into this week, that is a potential possibility. But overall, guys, I wanted to just cover this for you. My 100% sentiment goes out to you in saying lottery stocks thinks, it's going to be volatile, but we are going to scale up. We are going to, at the end of this week, we will close higher than $5.50 than where we're trading at right now. And if we don't, I would be very surprised. And if we don't, I think you're going to have a insanely high gap up upon earnings if that is not the case. Overall, guys, this is what I got for you for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed watching. Before you click off of the video, make sure to get up to 15 free stocks, each valued up to $2,000 a stock, for just downloading Moomoo using my link and making a deposit. Also, pop in the Discord. That link is under there as well. I love you all. Lottery Stocks out.